Alright, so it's been a little bit since I made a video, so I just wanted to make another one because there was someone who commented giving me a bit of an interesting story about his DMT experience, and I kind of related to the topic that he was trying to get at, so I want to kind of share it with you guys just to get your opinions on it and just to kind of brainstorm certain concepts and ideas that I have floating around in my head and certain ideas that you guys might have. So this person named Afro Jack on my last video, I believe that's his name or his title or whatever that he goes by. He was saying that he was having a very interesting DMT experience, but he said that things were going okay and the entities were happy, but all of a sudden he said that somehow he distorted their realities somehow by thinking thoughts that weren't, I guess, positive enough, and he felt actual remorse and he was upset that he made them upset, or at least he was sad about it. And I actually thought this was pretty funny, that someone can actually be almost remorseful to certain entities that they have and actually feel bad that they made things not good for them. And usually that's how people respond to people in normal reality, but when it's things in your subconscious, it's sort of bizarre how some people actually feel remorse and feel sympathy or empathy towards things that they seem to have caused in their own visionary states. And I don't know if I've ever felt as if I did something wrong to a specific entity in my head, but I was also talking to him and saying that we don't really know if they are separate beings or if they are just part of us. I kind of like to think that it's both, that they're both part of us and separate from us in a certain way. I don't exactly know how I can explain that fully, but that's just the impression that I get from these entities. So I told him that that was my perspective on this thing, and he seemed to be pretty confident that they were separate from him, and he actually upset them and distorted their reality somehow, and he was almost wanting to somehow correct it or make them feel happy again. And I have certain techniques on what kind of thoughts that I project to entities, and I have a certain rule book because based on my experiences, certain thoughts and certain feelings definitely do seem to affect the entities and can actually turn the experience into something dark that was once light. And because of that, I've sort of developed a rule that I try to go by, which is I always try to project feelings of love as much as I can towards the entities, just because it's something similar to encountering aliens that are really high tech and out of our league in terms of technological advancement, and you don't really want to upset them at all. So you want to project as much loving thoughts and reactions to them as much as possible. And another type of emotion that I also project is a type of submissiveness, because I feel as if these things are super advanced and beyond my control, and they have complete sort of dominion over me and can really affect me in ways that I can't really control. So I tend to almost be submissive to it, like you would to some sort of higher power that you can't really impose your ego on. You just have to say, I'm in your hands, do whatever you want, kind of don't try not to treat me in a aggressive or uncaring way, and I'm completely in your hands, kind of like a child would do to a parent of some sort. And I know some people might have a different method of trying to have composure of themselves towards these things, but those are the two kind of strategies that I tend to implement so that I can get the most positive reaction to these things. The last thing you want to do is project a high amount of ego and say, oh, I'm the boss of you, and project hatred and things like that. I can't really see that going very well. And I think that the strategy that I use, which is basically just love and complete dropping of all ego and all sense of power and impressiveness, you know. I mean, oftentimes it makes you feel impressive and it makes you feel powerful just because you've sort of given your ego away, and you know, then it kind of gives you those attributes, but you're not really projecting that as a superior thing towards the entities. You sort of just go off with it and just feel really powerful on your own, and usually no real entities are really involved with that. But this is pretty much just my sort of perspective on this. Other than that, I didn't really know exactly what to tell him. He said he was going to do it again in a month and you know, report back to see where he's at. So I'd be interested to see how it goes for him. But yeah, you definitely shouldn't feel regret and a bad feeling that you may have distorted the reality of these entities and made them upset, because I really do think that they are somewhat a part of you, and at least they might understand that you're human and you can make mistakes. I just personally implement these certain strategies so that I can have the most the least scary of an experience as possible, because you don't want to just go in with a boatload of ego and expect to be treated as something where that's the right thing to do. It's definitely not. I don't think so. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share. I'll see you guys in the next video. So peace out. Have a good night.